Hey everybody, I want to welcome back to this next podcast with Tim Graves, and I have Paul Monahan here again. I'm going to have a conversation with Paul today about our learned attitude of different schools, our mental game / on course. We called them a million different things, schools, but it's interesting because it's by far. I mean, we do 3-day schools, 5-day schools, 1-day schools, obviously. We have alumni camps. We have then Todd and I especially schools. We have short game schools. We have bio schools, biomechanics schools, and we obviously have mental game, the learned attitude of different schools. And it's between that and the short game school, obviously, are by far my favorite schools to do. There's no doubt about it. But I want to just talk. I want to talk to everybody out there today and tell some stories about these short games, about the AAI schools we do, and how important they are, and why I want to really promote them. We only do a couple a year. That's usually because of your schedule more than us. I mean, we'd get you in more if we could, but we do a couple a year because we're trying to match up our schedules and so on. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about the format of the school. And I want to thank you for being here on the podcast. But,
of course, thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about the format of the school, then and why we started them, and then maybe a little bit about what we've seen at the schools. Because we've seen tons and tons of success. In fact, there's no doubt about it. Short of a short game school, for me, it's the number one emails I get at the school about how amazing they are. I mean, like, I cannot believe that, we saw that. I got that for 2 or 3 days. I cannot believe that I was missing that before. I can't believe, where I can go now with my game. And so, but we started them probably about maybe 9 or 10 years ago. It's been quite a while, hasn't it? I mean, it's
so not quite that long. I was just thinking about this.
Okay.
It was 8 years ago.
Okay.
Today.
What?
Yeah, 8 years ago today that we sat at Outback. You and Todd and I had dinner at Outback and started sort of talking about these things.
How do you remember that?
Well, because I came across something not too long ago. I'm like, and I was thinking about this trip.
Right.
And, I'm on City, like, January 29th of 2016, 8 years ago.
Nuts.
We had this meeting starting to talk about. I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I think you're making this up.
I am not. I will show you. I'll prove it to you.
And you could. Okay.
I could. I definitely could. So, what's the question?
So why did we start doing what?
Oh yeah.
What was the reason? Because here's the deal, and I've talked about this all the time. In fact, the previous podcast we talked about this, but Todd and I have been teaching the same thing for 25. It seems like 100 years now. Okay, but for years and years and years, the same model, the single plane Mo Norman model. And it's interesting. We come up with new training tools every year. We come up with new ways to present it to our guys every year. But it's been the same model. The model hasn't changed, and literally. Todd and I very quickly, after working on this for just a couple of years, was like, we're not working with their physical part, we're working with their mental part. It's not about can they physically get this, because it's not hard. It's, in fact, the swing is actually, let's just be honest, compared to other swings out there, is very, very simple. Okay, I mean, you're a single playing golfer, so you realize this, but it's getting between their ears. And so, and when we met you, it's been over 10 years ago we met you, but it's been a while we met you, but we
I could also.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
We got in the arena of, okay, let's get some mental game coaches, some mental game help with these guys. Right. And it was interesting because originally we had Ron Cruikshank in here, and Ron Cruikshank was on.
I've read Ron's writings are still sort of out there.
They are. Yeah,
they're tremendous.
Ron was actually a big single playing golfer. He actually did a lot. He interviewed Mo many times. In fact. When you look at a couple of the interviews that are on that we've recorded that have been published, Ron's interviewing Mo. And so, and Ron worked with many PGA, LPGA professionals and athletic and Olympic guys and so on. But then Ron kind of faded away. He went on and kind of did his own thing. Yep. And then you came into the picture, and it was really cool because it was kind of like the modern day, I say modern day Ron, but it was, you came into this with a different perspective, but it was definitely a single plane working for our demographic perspective,
for sure.
In this. Yeah. And I'll give you kudos that it's interesting, but a lot of guys that come to our AAI schools actually work with you personally after the school. I mean, am I right? I mean, they actually will work with you after the schools.
That is true.
And to help the professions or so on. Let's talk a little about the school. Let's talk about it itself. I mean, I want you to, when we do a school, I mean, and honestly, I'll tell everybody this, Paul runs the schools, I'm there helping him. I mean, I love being the helper for Paul, but so let's talk a little bit, walk through the school.
Yep.
Like what do you like to, what do you what is the student? What do you try to get a student to get out of the school? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
if somebody comes and sees us for 3 days, okay, and they're really coming to see you, what's your basis? Like, what do you want that student to get when he's walking out of that school, or what's the expectation you see in that?
Yeah. Well, so, and I'll start, by the way, and talk about the evolution first,
okay,
right?
okay.
So, because now I remember the first question.
Okay, here we go.
Right?
Yeah.
But the evolution was that after doing some work with you and some of your instruction staff here, and then it was early 2016, 2017, said, hey, what if you came out to one of our 5-day alumni camps and, spend some time? Why don't you come out and, and what we began to craft at that point was, hey, all came out and did an hour a day at the alumni camps. What would that look and feel like? And would it matter? Or
because I remember that because they didn't want to see Todd and me anymore. No, we literally brought you in for an hour in like the talk in the morning or during the day.
Right.
And said, okay, let's do a little mental game work during this. And the guys absolutely loved it.
Yeah, they were ready for that.
Oh, yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
And so, and that, like a lot of things, life and so forth, and in work and business, everyone's experienced this, it evolved, right? It evolved into, okay, now I'm 2017, 2018, I start writing a little more, right? So every month I'm driving 1 or 2 reflections, and then it's like, hey, wait a second, what if we did separate school? What would that look and feel like? So it was 2019, we did our first school, and it was kind of a pilot.
Right.
Got a dozen folks to join us, and we were off and running.
Right.
So,
was the first one in Chicago?
It was Chicago.
Yeah, Prairie Landing. See, I remember that. So I do so many of these.
Our first 2 were it.
Yeah.
Because partly because they have such a perfect facility.
Or build that.
I love that. That's so awesome. So awesome. So, all right. So the school itself.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. What are we trying? Okay. So if I really think about, my mission intent, right? Where I think about end state, hey, at the end of the session,
right?
It's more than anything. There's 2 things. One is I want them to have some tools that they can work on, that they can use and implement, have, so that they can build their mental game. Right. And number 2, I want them to have this, have a sense of, or a lot more context and perspective, right? Building context, and perspective, so that things like expectations, for example, don't ruin their day.
Right.
Those are the big.
So kind of walk. I mean, we tweaked the agenda 100 times, but I mean, it's pretty much on. Let's be honest, it's kind of almost the same format. We went from a 2-day to 3-day. We needed more time, but kind of walk people through like the format of a school, like because it's unique. It's not like you're sitting there just pounding balls. You're out there, walk through the format of this for like what you do, because it's very unique. Kind of. So if obviously 90% of the people out there or more haven't been to an AI school, so kind of walk through the format of what they'd expect to see at a school.
For sure. Well, yeah, I like that you said, we're definitely not pounding balls. Right. We're not spending a lot of time on the range. One of the things that's unique about the school is we're almost not even at all talking about swing mechanics.
Yeah.
I would say kind sometimes it
freaks people out.
It does. Yeah.
It really freaks people out.
Because everyone wants to know, hey,
yeah, right.
Can you come my position too? And we're not about, it's not about,
right.
It really isn't. There's another time and another place for that. We're not doing that. We're doing something. Right. So that's number 1. And then the other thing is, we're really, we're doing a lot of things that are in sort of the play realm, right? Where we're gamifying. We're putting them into these what we call high pressure, low stakes scenarios, so that they can feel what it's like without the potential downfall, right? So that they can start to build those skills of playing well when the quote unquote means a lot, right? And so there's a mix of those experiences, plus we're giving them some framework, right? So one of the big ideas when you come to an AI school is that you'll learn that systems are unbelievably important, playing well on the course, right? And so we're going to put systems in front of them, whether it's, okay, how do you pregame? Right. There's a great...
Well, we do a lot of we will work on pre-shot routines. it's interesting. One of the big things we've created in the school, or I say we created, it's not, but we go over in the school is a pre-shot, in-shot, post-shot routine, which is very interesting because it freaks people when we talk about a post-shot routine. We call it the red zone, green zone, gray zone. I mean, you named it the gray zone. It's the thinking zone after. In fact, we literally have our students come up there and they get behind the golf ball. So they're out. Think about it, you're on the range right now. You got a golf ball in front of you. Yeah. You get behind the golf ball and you do your pre-shot routine. Take just a couple seconds. You get up over the shot. You hit your shot. That's your in-shot routine. What are you thinking about? And then as the ball's flying, you got the post-shot routine. What are you thinking about after the swing? And it's kind of interesting. Well, first of all, when you first see the people, the way they react at first, it's pretty typical. But then you start building those different procedures and different systems, as you say. And I love that. And it definitely puts a different mindset. Am I right? I mean, it's different.
100%. I've gone out and as you know, I've gone out to the world and studied this.
Right? Oh yeah, a lot
with people in the golf community who this is all they spend their time doing. Right. Some really well-known people, and I bring a lot of that back to what we're doing in the high school. And the one maxim that I love, and from time to time, that you can make it to the PGA Tour with a good swing. Right. I mean, now let's just say a great swing. Right. Okay, because you need a great swing. Right. And some pretty good putting. Right. You can make it to the PGA Tour. Right. You can't stay on the PGA Tour if you don't have a good gray zone memory box. 100%. If you are internalizing the outcomes 100%. Of your shots in detrimental ways, you will not make it.
100%.
So that's one of the,
we can talk a couple of the stories, but the one that we talk about a lot is I bring this up a lot in the school, and you're obviously a big advocate of this, but it's talk about a lot of subconscious, the subconscious in school and how the subconscious plays a big role, conscious thought, creating subconscious movement and so on. And, the post-shot routine, which is what immediately happens after the shot. And I always talk about this, how do you react to it? Because good players let poor shots go. They happen. Who cares? I mean, they'll get upset about it for a second, but it happened. It will happen. I don't like it, but it's over. When they have a good shot, they'll celebrate it. I mean, if it's a really good shot, they'll do major league celebration. I mean, and you see this on TV. Yeah. Average to poor players do the opposite. They will literally, on a poor shot, I won't say celebrate it, they'll react so much stronger to a poor shot than they will a good shot. And you see this, I always sit there and some guy hits a great shot on the golf course and turns to his partners, blind squirrel finds a nut every so often. I got lucky on that one. I won't do that again today.
Totally downplaying their
it's like they're embarrassed.
Achievement.
It's like, I mean, how many pro-ams are playing, they hit a great shot, and I'm the pro sitting there going, that was unbelievable. I mean, I'll take that shot all day and like, oh, that was a pure accident. You won't see that happen again. But I might do that for the next year.
Yeah, guaranteed.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I know. And it's it's like it's literally like they're I'm not saying they're embarrassed from it, but and then they hit a bad shot and they're slinging the club to the left or slamming it into the ground or cussing storm. And we talk about how if you have a stronger reaction to a poor shot, your subconscious will feed off that, will actually crave that. And that's not just us writing this. This is and this is a lot of people discussing this. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, this is a well-known psychological fundament. People in the brain space, discovered this years ago. And, it's a bias that our brain brings to our experiences that is a function of keeping us alive, making, so that we can survive. Right. Because the brain brain's not looking for the great stuff. Right. The brain is looking for the threats. Right. Right. And so that's one of the reasons why we can have such a strong reaction. Right. It's one of the reasons why, in order to overcome our biological, our internal structure in our brain, right? In order to overcome that, we have to really be intense about the good stuff. Right. 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 And really emotionalize.
100%. In the school, we have what's called a yippee skippy drill. And we laugh about it.
This is Tim's favorite.
And it's one of my favorite. Oh yeah. It's by far. It's just this is for 3 days. They're doing this for just a very small part of one day, but we literally get the guys and gals in the range and we have them hit shots one at a time. Yep. We do a pre-shot, in-shot, post-shot routine. And when they hit a good shot, they have to do a little circle with the club above their head and yell yippee skippy. Okay. And right.
Absolutely.
And it's so funny. How many guys won't do it at first? Especially it's the guy who's got his arms crossed in the classroom. That guy, the one that can't act like he's having fun on the golf course. I mean, acting like you're in front of the golf course is a crime. And and he literally, it's like you're just bending metal trying to do this. Am I right?
Yes.
I mean, and me and you, and we know by the time we start doing this drill, who's going to have a hard time doing it. And then all of a sudden, we'll break him in, and they'll start doing it. And you'll get some of the guys are doing it immediately, but then you break them in, right? And they start doing it. And then all of a sudden, what happens? Every single time, what happens?
They're yippee skip.
Good shot.
Good shot.
Good shot. Good shot. And it's like they're embarrassed. It's like also another good shot. And they look at me like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I do another yippee skippy. They can do it. And then they give them the next shot. Like, you got to be kidding me. I got to do it again.
Oh,
it's like,
I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. Because they slip. You're saying they kind of slip back into. Yeah. No, you're right.
And all of a sudden, and then you watch the guy who normally gets over a shot, and he's got this worst attitude and this frown on his face, and he's all tensed up, and he starts giggling over the shot before he hits it, because he knows if he hits a good shot, he's going to do yippee skippy. So what happens? He loosens up.
Yeah.
He starts hitting good shot after good shot after good shot, and all of a sudden you see one after another after another. And so what we've done to this guy is we've loosened him up out there. He's all of a sudden experienced having a good time. And remember, you see, it happens.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And they look at you like, what's going on here? And we're like going, you have set yourself up in such a bad position with a subconscious expecting something bad or craving something bad. We're not letting that happen right now. We're just going to have fun out here. And now when they're all doing it, it's crazy. And then they sit there, and the first thing they turn to you, go, well, I wouldn't do this in the golf course. And like, yeah, you wouldn't. But you can do something internally. Pump the fist, put your hand up in the air, say something to yourself. Am I right?
100%.
And pros will do it all out. I mean, they're not embarrassed. Tiger Woods will pump his fist in front of the whole world. I mean, and he doesn't care. I mean, he'll throw his hat across the green. He doesn't care. But we'll sit there and be embarrassed by it in front of our small group.
Right.
Saying,
oh, could you?
Yeah, exactly. I can't believe you're celebrating a good shot.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how when they get opened up and they start relaxing and their expectations, isn't it amazing how it changes you? It's fascinating.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah. I've talked about this. Well, you were there.
Right.
I'm going to tell this story, the Chuck Hogan book story.
Okay.
Right. So I'm in your office. We're chatting.
Oh.
And this was probably your Rose Creek office.
Right.
Yeah, it probably was. Yeah. And we're chatting, and you've got this library of terrific golf books and so forth. And I'm like kind of rummaging.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, what's this one?
Right.
And it's this old paperback.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's out of print. I don't think you get this anymore. But it's Chuck Hogan.
Right. eBay.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
eBay.
Right.
Yeah, eBay. Chuck Hogan Rethinking Golf.
Right.
It's sort of like better.
Yep.
Hey, can I have this? You're like, whatever,
okay.
have fun, whatever suits you, So I take this book and I read this book, and Chuck Hogan is a brilliant guy from sort of like the 70s.
Yeah.
No relation to
No.
I don't think.
No.
But he was talking about the mental game.
Oh yeah.
In the days, even, Timothy Galway was talking about it in the 70s, but he was kind of in that space, right? So I read this chapter. It's one line. It says, hey, if you want to build confidence in you, you just got to do this. Number one, see the outcomes. Number one is celebrate and emotionalize the functional shot.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about.
Right. And
the second thing is see the results and outcomes of everything else as feedback, not failure.
Right. So feedback, emotionalize the basically the good stuff. I mean, the good stuff.
Exactly right. So it's like, hey, the fist pump when you hit a functional shot, right? Because the game of golf is really freaking hard.
Right.
Most people can't hit a functional shot.
Right.
Most people, I mean, most people that, take the population of the United States.
Oh, no.
Most people cannot hit a functional shot
100%.
in golf.
Right.
So if you hit a functional shot, you're doing that, 0.5% of
if you're lucky, probably less than that.
Yeah, it's probably less than that.
Right.
We'll celebrate that.
Right.
Everything else, let it go.
Right.
So, I go and I'm working with Lynn Marriott, right? So Lynn Marriott and her, she and her partner Nilsson coached Annika Sorensen for her entire career.
Right.
And just, they swim in these game waters all the time, right? And so we're chatting, and I'm like, oh yeah, this sounds like Chuck Hogan. She goes, I spent 5 years with Chuck Hogan, right? So it's all of this stuff sort of came full circle, and so it's just fun to talk about.
That Chuck Hogan's who we studied in college. I mean, that's That's Timothy Galloway, Chuck Hogan. And let's be honest. I mean, we talk about this a lot. Have we ever created anything new, or do we just repackage it better? I'm saying, yeah. But you bring it to the forefront, and guys would come into this thing and say, well, yeah, we're going to teach the mental game of the single plane. It's not the mental game. It's the mental game. Single plane happens to be an easier method to swing and so on, but it's the mental game. And you can get in your own way in conventional golf, or you can get in your own way in single plane golf. It doesn't matter. But I'm gonna for a few minutes here. I'm gonna for a few seconds here. Actually, I'm gonna bring up a story, and Paul knows the story I'm gonna bring up here, but this is one of the classic AAI school stories, and it was actually a real telling story for me. It was pretty crazy. I'd talk about this story a lot. In fact, I think I put it in the forward of your book. But it was one of the first few AI schools we did, probably now 5, 6, 7 years ago. No, it feels like 100 years ago.
You should say 20.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go.
Cover ourselves.
And the exercise was the first morning. I'll never forget this. And we went out to the putting green, and I think we had 12 or 13 students. And this was the exercise we were doing. Paul had some labels like you print off a computer, and he handed everybody a sheet of labels. I think there was a dozen labels in every one of these sheets. And the left-hand side of the columns was positive words like encouraging, positive, nice to be around, whatever, positive words. Okay. And on the right-hand side of the column was negative words like discouraging, like negative, like, don't want to be around them, like whatever. Okay.
Right.
And Paul said this. Paul goes, "Here's what I want you guys to do." And he handed everybody. I was actively involved.
You were playing.
Oh yeah, I was playing this.
Jim can play.
Heck yeah, I did. And you handed out a sheet to everybody. And you said, okay. So everybody looked at the left column. Everybody looked at it and was like, okay, go now take those stickers off and go stick it on somebody else around you. And nobody knew. They may have known me, but we'd been at the school for an hour. Okay, so nobody knew each other. Yeah. So they start going around like encouraging, you go sticking somebody, positive, sticking somebody else.
Generous.
Yeah, sticking somebody else. Yeah, it was sticking them. I got it. All right. And then they came back and we said, okay, how was that? And you looked at everybody and they said, great. And they said, okay, now look at the other column. Now go stick those on people. And it kind of freaked everybody out because it was like, oh, I got to go put negative words on people. And I remember I put it on people's backs. I remember this. I remember I'd stick it on their back. I wouldn't put it in the front. I didn't want to see
That's a safe move.
Yeah. Like I didn't want to put it in the front of them. I was like, I just stick it in their back. Yeah, I was like, I would literally put it in the back of their shoulders. Like, okay. Yeah. And then we brought them in the classroom and you talked about this exercise and you said, talk about it. And you said, why was it so easy to put positive words on people and so hard to negative? And then you brought it into the category of, then why are you so negative to yourselves? You know what I'm saying? Then why will you be more negative to yourself versus positive? You would never do that to anybody else. It was a great conversation. It was phenomenal. But that's not the whole story. I'll never forget this because the next day we come in the classroom and when we had a lot more exercises that first day, we came in the classroom the next day.
Right.
And I walked in the classroom, I got up in front of everybody and said, okay, let's have a little discussion about yesterday, Q&A, blah, blah, blah. So how do you think yesterday went? And that one gentleman stood up.
It was John. I don't remember. I remember his name was John.
Okay, well, I don't remember. Well, you remember his name more than I do. He stood up. I remember his face.
Yeah.
And he stood up and he goes, that first exercise we did, I thought it was a complete waste of time. And all we did was litter because the labels started blowing off us. Like it kind of blew us up. And I remembered in 3 seconds, this guy was going to be out of the classroom. I was going to tear this guy's head off. Yeah. He was going to be going his happy little butt down the hallway. He'd have been in his car heading out of there. I mean, I was coming unglued. I mean, you know me, my calm little temper. I mean, this guy was gone. Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at you like, I mean, I was about to take a deep breath and you looked at me and said, can I answer the question? And I was like, okay. And you stood up. And I remembered you asked him, you said, you started asking questions. You just said, okay, why did you think it was a waste of time? What did you not get out of it that you expected? Come to find out, John had a bad back. He didn't like standing up that long.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know anything about anybody there, so he was embarrassed or he felt bad about the thing. Yeah. You had like a half hour to an hour conversation with this guy, and it was like, it was emotional, but it was like, holy crap. I mean, I was like, are you kidding me? It was the greatest learning experience in an AAI school I'd ever seen up to that point. It was crazy. And I was like, I remember how you just twisted that completely 180 what I was going to say. I mean, he was done with me. Okay. I'll never forget this. And I'm like,
my timing was good.
Beyond good. And I mean, I actually learned a lot from it. And I remember, and then we actually excused the guys in the class to go to be out in the range room exercises. And I remember looking at you, and I mean, my jaw, I'm sure, was down to my knee. And what'd you say to me? You remember what you said to me?
I do.
Go ahead, say it.
I said, when the student's ready, master will.
There you go. And I sat there. I mean, I'll never forget that. And in fact, I've said that. quoted you a billion times on that.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because I remember thinking he wasn't ready to hear this. And especially, I mean, it's amazing the different personalities we get, number one, but he wasn't ready to hear it at the time. And he didn't see anything past my back's hurting me and I'm littering. You want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, I'll never forget that story. I mean, till the day I die, I'm not going to forget that story.
Yeah. And it's certainly very common, right? Like we have this, we have this experience in our life that feels like it's all on the outside, right? We live in a physical world.
Right.
All of our experiences come at us from the outside, but the way we really live life is between our ears, right? It's where all perception is. It's where all of our interpretations of what's going on, all of it happens, right? It's why I titled my book "The Most Important Game."
Right.
Right. Because
that one right there.
Yeah. It's like we think about, all the stuff out there feels really important, right? But it's the stuff in here that's really and how we interpret it, right? And so, in that moment, that person was wrapped up in what he needed, thought he needed, right? And he wasn't able to sort of take that leap and overcome struggle of the moment and realize that there was a message,
right?
That the exercise that he was doing on the green the previous day was about something much different,
right?
It was about tapping into thoughts and the thought patterns that drive how we show up, right? And so that was, I think, it was
amazing. I mean, it's amazing that when a student walks in the first that school, when they walk out 3 days, at the end of the third day, it's amazing the change, what you see in them, or the way they're reacting, or the way they're responding. It's amazing because we always talk about reading somebody's personality. They walk in the room, and by the time they walk out, and it's also amazing is we've had numerous students who've come to more than one AAI school, and and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And they literally will come back to second and third, and they'll say, "I wasn't ready for the first. I didn't get,
we got that.
Yeah,
we've gotten that.
Yeah, because they're like, wow. I mean, they walk away from it and they said they weren't open and whatever it was, but they were like, I wasn't ready for that first one. Now I am.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting, I've been thinking about this is like, look, the people that sign up for the AAI schools, and these are super successful people.
Oh, yeah.
They've built businesses, they've built incredible lives and experiences, right? These are high achieving people here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have physicians.
Pilots, physicians, architects. Oh, no, it's crazy.
Right, exactly, right? So these are very, very accomplished people, right? And even at that level, they're experiencing breakthroughs. That you'd think, oh, well, no, they've built this incredible life for themselves and their family and their business and their employees and all that.
Right.
What do they need? But what they begin to come to understand is that all of the concepts that we talk about, or many of the concepts that we talk about in the AI school, the ones that aren't sort of specifically where you have to have a golf ball,
right.
Many of these are fundamental self-management concepts,
100%,
right? That
100%.
Allow anybody to move successfully through this moment and the next moment and the next moment, especially the one that has challenge in it, and the next, you know what I mean? And
100%. That's why I worked with you personally. I mean, beyond that, because it wasn't about golf; it was about helping run my business or helping management. Why I don't kill my brother or what?
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
I was working with him too.
Yeah, I know. We got that. Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
But it's interesting. Well, no, that's my brother paid me or paid you.
He did. Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting because a lot of what we do in there, I mean, the guys talk about that. So a lot of things that they bring up during the school and the question stuff is not about golf itself. It's about just life in general. What was the group that I presented to? I talked to a group, and I was out in California. I forget this because I was out in California at Carmel. I was in the middle of a lesson. I took an hour lunch break. I sat there with the ocean behind me. The video conference call. What group was that?
That's that's the Navy SEAL group.
Yeah.
That I'm affiliated with. not ever having been a Navy SEAL, if that's not a surprise.
You told me who was involved in this group, and I was like, oh my Lord. I mean, remember that? I was like, you talk about high achievers. Oh my gosh.
Oh goodness. This is, I think probably on the call, there were, half of them were former Navy SEAL. There were NCAA basketball and football coaches. There were, I
remember the one lady from Australia who trained the dogs. Who was that? It's funny. All these guys.
Oh, yes. Cynthia.
Infamous people. And then the one I remember the most is a lady from Australia who trains dogs. And what does she do? It's pretty cool.
Yeah. She works with elite level teams.
Right.
Who, and she works, in the military special forces in Australia.
Right.
Mission critical military special forces.
Right.
And the ones that are working with dogs.
And you brought me in there just as in golf mental game, what we did with golf and so on. And it kind of rolled into when you're on the golf course, you got to be your own best caddy. It kind of rolled into that, like, when you're on the golf course and 99% of the time you don't have a caddy with you, you're out there playing, but you got to have that positive self-talk, you can't, in other words, if you had a caddy sitting next to you and you're hitting over this shot and it's in a big tournament on TV, what would that caddy say to you? You know what I'm saying? What would he say to you over that before you hit that shot? Oh, you suck. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Good luck, you ain't hitting this one good, or here we go again. No, that's not what he's going to say. He's going to say, you got it. Let's go. You got this shot. Whatever he'd say to you to keep you in that moment,
right?
To keep you positive. And the other thing we talked about was how you're out there for 4.5 hours and you're only hitting a minute and a half worth of shots. So what do you do in between all that? You know what I'm saying? And how you get out of it, get into it, because that's what they talked about with the Navy SEALs. And they brought
a lot of downtime.
And I never thought about that. They're like, they said they'll prepare for a certain op, and they'll prepare for months to years for something.
Right.
And then they go do it. It may last just a few seconds, or a minute or two.
Yeah.
And they say, how do you get up for that 1 or 2 minutes that's lasting? I was just thinking about this. Well, obviously life and death situations, that's just some crazy things that we'll never even know about.
Stakes are high there.
You think?
You think?
And they said that you do up and down time. You know what I'm saying? And they're saying the same thing, and you can't, how can you walk into that and be negative yourself or have a negative talk at that time? There's no way, and
it's the on-off cycle.
Yeah. And so when I talked about that on the golf course, they just hooked right into that. Now they were just like, and they were all talking about their little situations. I was like, okay, this is the coolest thing ever. And she was talking about the dogs. Not forget that.
She was
talking about when those dogs, she said that's the hardest thing for her is because they've got to bring the dogs down. And 99% of the time, the dogs are not doing anything. And then that 1% of the time, the dogs are high energy go. Right. You know what I'm saying? That whatever it is. And she's like going, we've got to train these dogs to be on the peak performance for just a short amount of time. Yes. And how do you inspect them with a dog? And how do you bring him down besides that? And,
that's so good. That's such a great memory. And I forgot that Chinzi had gone into that. She's terrific.
Yeah.
She's one of her specialties in meditation, by the way. So she instructs, right, and guides people on build a meditation practice. So she's just terrific in that space. But this on-off toggle is so incredible. Something that I know we've talked about in schools where it's like, golf is mistaken a lot of times as a cognitive endeavor.
Right.
Like, I got to be thinking about, gamble the ball, now what am I going to do? And so what we really try and do is help them understand that the thinking happens in a certain place.
Yep.
Once you are stepping in the shot, you're an athlete.
Exactly.
You're no longer, it's not about, it's about channeling your inner athlete.
Right.
So that's one of the big things that we.
Well, it's interesting when we bring up a session in the school, we talk about golf's a reactionary sport.
I love that part.
It freaks everybody out.
Yeah.
Because they think of reactionary sport as tennis, ball coming at you, or baseball, someone pitching at you. You got to react to something.
Yep.
I say, no, golf is more, to me, it's more of a reactionary sport than even those sports. And they just sit there and then they get these big old eyes and they say, let's talk about what this means. We have a big session on that in the school. And if they play it like a reactionary sport, how much better they'll play it, how much more they can get into the moment, and how they can free their brain up. That's what we talk about. Because if they're constantly thinking technique in their brain, they can't get into the reactionary sport mode. And they'll never get to the level they want to. And we talk about that a lot.
We do, yeah. What we're trying to set up for them is this idea that call it playing golf for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're playing golf, right? And one of the keys to playing well is to stop the open.
Right.
And so I love when we do the dictionary stuff.
Yeah.
This is kind of one of my favorite
Right. No doubt.
pieces of
right.
the school where, if you bounce the ball to somebody, what are they going to do? They're going to
Right.
they're going to react.
You're gonna catch it. Right.
They're going to, catch it. Right. Can we bring some of that in, and the lesson is, the metaphor is, we're not thinking about catching it. We're just catching it.
Right. Right.
So, all of the preparation that we've done up until today, it's done.
Right.
Now we go play.
Right. And that's the interesting part, because the guys will talk to me. They'll sit there and say, well, what do you mean by that? I say, well, think about it. You get over top of a golf shot. First of all, there's no two shots the same on the golf course. You're looking at what the wind's doing, what's the pin on the green, where do you want to hit the shot? What side of the pin do you want to hit it on? What's that flag doing? Is it blowing this direction, that direction? What's the lie look like?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Is it wet? Is it dry? Is it sitting down? Is it sitting up? Do I want to hit the shot high? Do I want to hit the shot low? Do I want to put some spin on the shot or not? I mean, we can talk about this forever. And I'm sitting there saying, I'm doing all this in my brain just a few seconds when I get over top of the shot. If you walk over that shot and say, is my grip good in the club? Am I hitting position one in the backswing? It all goes away. And you've literally lost playing the game, as you say, or reacting to the situation. I'll never forget one time I was watching a show, Wonderful World in Golf. And I'm sure it was shot in the 60s or 70s. I mean, it was forever ago. And because it was Gene Sorensen playing against somebody.
Right.
And I remember this, and I don't remember who was interviewing him, but Sorensen got over a shot with a wedge. And he hit a shot. No, I take that back. It was Hogan versus Palmer, and Sorensen was interviewing him. That's what it was. Sorensen was interviewing him, okay? Because he was a little older guy in there. And Palmer hit the shot, and he hit a really close to the hole. And he was walking up to the green, and Sorensen grabs the mic. It's old footage, and he goes, well, describe that shot you just hit. And Palmer said, okay. He goes, well, when I took the club back, I felt a gust of wind come across my shoulder. So I pushed it a little bit harder, a little bit more to the right to make up for that. And I'm like, what? I mean, no, I was literally like, you're kidding me. And I'm like,
Palmer was an athlete.
But think about
Seriously.
being in that moment. You know what I'm saying? What he felt in his backswing, and made a slight correction in his downswing. You follow me?
Yeah.
That's playing reactionary golf to the umpteenth degree. Okay. I mean, 99.9% of us never get that level. But the point is that he wasn't thinking about, am I hitting position 2 in the backswing? Is my face square at setup? Whatever it is. He's trusting what he's got and reacting to what's going on. I'll never forget that. Yeah. And that's what we try to promote in the AI school. I mean, that's what we promote, be able to find that on the golf course. I mean,
we do. Yeah. Yeah. And we, because we get them out on the course in that playing environment, for every group that we go out with is with an instructor,
right?
A facilitator, right? And our job as facilitators is to help them tune into these things and practice these things,
right?
So that, when they leave, they've got a new set of tools and they can do it back at their own course, or what have you. I think those are powerful takeaways.
The last thing I'll talk about here is that we did that one school legacy, and we did another AI school legacy. We did another mental game school legacy. And we took them on
done a couple there.
Oh, we've done a few. Yeah.
Yeah. They have a
great facility for it. And we went out that one morning. We get in the golf course quite a bit. We try to get on there at least every day or part of every day. Or if we can't get in the golf course, we're simulating it in our practice facility area. We got on the golf course that last day. And in this school, we had beginner golfers, we had pretty good golfers, and we had everything probably from, low single digit handicap to probably 30s and 40s. And I remember we played a few holes, we were out there for a couple hours, and then we all met in the 18th hole. I'm sure you remember this.
I do.
And we had everybody get on the 18th hole, and we just gathered up on the tee. And we're gonna hit one more shot for the day, and then we're gonna go have some lunch and work the afternoon. And we got in the tee. Remember what we did? We got in the tee, and I remember you saying this. And you got up there and you said, "Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get in the tee, and all you're gonna think is a great picture." And first of all, it was a beautiful morning out. Could not have been a prettier morning.
Yeah.
And you said, "Get up there, right?
Nice spot,
right?" And now there's 12 people standing on the tee box, and I remember you looked at everybody and you said, "Everybody here is rooting for you, not rooting against you. They're rooting for you. If you think these guys are rooting against you, you're fooling yourself. You're making that up. Everybody's rooting here for you. And no matter what happens, they're going to clap, they're going to cheer, they're going to say, good shot. They don't care, right? They're going to clap. You could dead top it off the tee box. You could block it straight right, pull it straight left, doesn't matter. They're going to be rooting for you. Okay, everybody here's written for you. We're one big team having fun. You said that. And then the third thing you got up there, so you said you painted a pretty picture for them of the morning. Yeah. You got up over it. And then the third thing you said is just look at the pretty green grass in the middle of the fairway and do your best. 12 people pured it off that tee box. I'll never forget that. Pured it. I was actually in awe because when I'm playing in Pro-Ams, you don't ever see that. You remember this?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that just boom, boom, down the middle. And everybody turned around just in shock. Just like, what just happened? I remember this. And well, obviously we went and had lunch and discussed that. And it was like, you just let the moment go. You let them just ease up. There was no stress. Just have some fun. See what happens. It was crazy. I remember you remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I did. What I love about the AI school is, try and put some things on the table for them to consider that they, well, I guess on some level you could say, surprisingly, they've never had the opportunity to really consider it, or experience it. Right. I always like to say that people don't need more information. They need more insights.
Right. 100%.
So what we're trying to do is create experiences so that insights emerge for them.
Right.
And when insights emerge, like an insight is something you never forget.
Right.
It's like, when someone tells you the joke and you get the joke, you get it.
Right.
Right. An insight is the same thing.
Right.
And when they have an insight for their game, they never, ever forget.
Right.
So the people that experience that on the tee, they never forget this idea that, hey, A, whatever happens, I can deal with. Right. And B, people probably don't care as much as I think they care.
And it's the old first tee adage, and we talk about this all the time.
Right.
Guy gets in the first tee or a lady gets in the first tee, and they're so freaking nervous, and they're just antsy. Because there's a starter there. There's maybe another group watching them. Yeah. There's their group with them, and they just get so bent out of shape. And it's always like, the first tee is the most nervous part of the golf score. I hate the first tee. And then we explain to them, number one, nobody cares. Number one, anybody in that tee, they're nervous for themselves, not for you. They could care less. Number two, that marshal just wants you to go. In fact, if you rip one 300 yards down the middle, he's ecstatic because it's 2 or 3 shots less than you having to hit him. He just wants you to go. He doesn't care. He just wants you out of there. And he won't remember you from Adam in 5 minutes from now. You follow me here? So everything that's occurring to you on that first tee is self-imposed, is put on you 100%. Much less if you have a partner who wants you to hit it good, and that's even better. But it is. It's all self-induced. I mean,
people. One of the things we talk about at the AI school is you are not your golf score.
Right.
You are so much.
100%.
Now, if you, hey, I want a low golf score, and I'm working toward it.
Right.
It doesn't define me.
Right.
And that tee shot that I'm going to hit today doesn't define me.
Right.
I can deal with whatever happens. I can deal with wherever that ball goes. And I've made that decision. So the irony, sort of the paradox, is that that's what allows me to be calm on the tee.
Okay, so before you came with us, it was about 10 years before you came with us.
This is about 50 years ago?
Yeah, about 100.
I'm trying to do the years here.
Yeah, here we go. We used to have Mo come out at schools. In 2000, 2001, this is before Mo had his heart issues and so on, but when we were working with Natural Golf, and when we first started our schools, we'd go pick up Mo to come out to schools. Cool. And typically what he'd do is he'd do a demo for us, like he'd come out to the school and everybody would freak out that Mo was there, and then he'd just do a ball striking demo. But a lot of times we'd get him out there, like I'd be working with him, Todd wouldn't pick him up, and he'd bring him out, and Mo would just kind of walk the range real quick, walk behind everybody. And everybody turned around like, oh my God, the Godfather's here, whatever. Okay. But
master
Mo would every time people would look at Mo and ask him, what do I need to do? You know what he said every single time?
Get out of your own way.
He'd say every time. He'd say, they expect, you're taking the club outside, or you're flipping the club at impact, or your grip. He'd go, get out of your own way, get out of your own way, get out of your way. He'd always say this. He'd say, if they just get out of their own way, they would be shocked how easy this game really is and how hard they've actually made this game. He'd say this again and again and again and again. I mean, how true is that? I mean, it's
100%.
Yeah. And so it's
really
interesting. And so to me in the AI school, if there's one fundamental thing we're trying to do is we're trying to help the student get out of their own way. Agree with that?
Big time.
So that's what we're trying to do. So the legacy of Mo Norman's our AI school, that's what we call it, the Lord Attitude of Indifference. I mean, if people don't know where that came from, it came from Mo saying, how do you play the game of golf? And he said, I play it with an alert attitude of indifference.
Exactly.
So, and we get into that dramatically in the school. So So give people a little bit, well, before we end this thing, give them a little bit of because the only time you come to our alumni camps every so often, come in a little bit of there, but the one that you got to get to is the AI school. Give a little prop of our AI school. Why somebody's listening to this should come to our AI school. Why should they? Because they're always thinking, I got to go work in my swing. I got to come to that 3 or 5 day school. Why come to the AI?
Yeah. If you really want to create some insights, like profound insights that change not only how you think about your game, practice on the course and so forth, but also how you think about other domains.
Oh yeah.
Right. Because, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to call this, the alert attitude of indifference life improvement.
but it is. But it is.
But in a way it is.
Right?
It
is.
And so, because all of these fundamentals are, work across multiple domains. So that's a really cool thing. And I think the insights that come from this, you get a ton of really practical tools that you could take to your practice and back to how you show up on the game so that you can be at your best when it means the most. Like no matter what is happening on the course, you can be at your best. And when that's the case, you have a much better chance of shooting the scores that you are capable of.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
It's kind of a fun piece.
And I think, I love what you brought up there. And that was the biggest thing for me and I think most students don't quite realize that is they think a mental game, they're thinking on the course. Well, let's just be honest. It's a lot more to do with how to practice, and getting the most out of your practice sessions. And so, because nobody puts in 5, 6, 7 hours of practice a day. They're putting in, a few minutes a day, or every couple of days, whatever they can do. This helps you get the most out of those. So you're getting out of your own way during practice too. And we talk about that a lot in school. And that's huge. That's huge. There's no question that people get mentally blocked getting to that next level of golf they want to get. There's no question.
Yep.
And we see that. And it's funny how you can read that with somebody so fast. They walk in the room and you just from a few minute conversation, you can kind of read it, how hard they are on themselves, or do I really have a chance? Or you think this is going to help me? You know what I'm saying? How many times we hear that? Do you really think this is going to help me? Well, I mean, everything.
Come on out.
Yeah, exactly.
The water's warm.
Exactly.
Come on in, man.
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
It's a great exploration for people who want to take that exploration. Not everyone does, and that's fine.
Right.
And that's fine.
Right.
But for those that do, and those are interested, come on, we'll take on a really cool little exploration, and it'll change it'll change your life. I will absolutely say.
No, well, there's no doubt, and it's so much so that we actually turned it from a 2-day to 3-day school because we had a 2-day school and guys were like, okay, I got to get more. I want more. I want more. I want more. So we turned it to a 3-day school. So yeah. So well, cool. So anything else you want to throw out there? The people at home sitting and listening to this, because we're promoting this AI schools, and we do a couple a year, and we do. I mean, we'd like to do more, and we're always fighting your schedule and our schedule, put them together. But I mean, try to get them out there and see if we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I love this this saying, play with an alert attitude of indifference.
Right.
If we can bring just a little bit of difference, that just means it doesn't mean we change our standards. It doesn't mean we don't have goals about where we want to take our game. But it means in the moment, can you care a little bit less so that you're able to show up and hit the most important shot, which is the next shot, right?
100%.
That's really what we're trying to do. That's what you get.
Okay, so give them your story. We'll end it this way: the story on the 17 tee at Eagle Creek. So on the par 3. So you're going to give that story? You want to give it to him?
It's in the book.
Yes,
it's in the book.
Is it really in the book?
It is. Yeah.
We'll
I should know the name of the chapter, but
it's in the book somewhere. Okay.
Book.
Okay.
I will tell the story.
Okay, let's tell the story. We'll end it this way because it's a classic Paul story. I love this. Okay.
It's a classic first person. How Paul learned to. I think it's a great lesson.
Okay.
Yeah, a great lesson. Chapter 31. So at Eagle Creek, I'm with playing with Chris Anderson. It's Chandler Rusk, and it's Trent White, and it's Chris Anderson.
Very good players.
Yep.
Real good players,
And we're playing the back 9 at Eagle Creek. We got some afternoon, there for a week. So we go out and we play. And I'm kind of slapping it around
okay.
to be charitable.
Honestly, you're probably playing decent, but You got a couple really good players in the group, so you're probably doing
really good players,
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
and so I'm not hitting any greens. I
Okay.
mean, I'm coming up short,
Okay.
you know, so after, you know,
You played 7
8 holes
Yeah,
of this, you know.
yep.
7 holes, that's what it was. So we get up to 17 at
Mhm.
Eagle Creek, 188 yards over water.
A little bit of railroad tie green, beautiful hole.
Yeah, it's a great hole.
Yeah,
It's a terrific hole.
Yeah,
So we're playing the back, you know, the back tees. And so, you know, of course, you know,
Mhm.
because like 3 years earlier, I had pured a 6-iron and hit it 186 yards,
right.
you know, to the center of a green.
Right.
That becomes my new standard
Right.
for
Right.
you know, for that yardage, right? And so I roll up there with my 6-iron and, you know, Trent and Chandler.
Yeah.
Now, Chris wasn't so much a part of this, but these guys were like, "Dude,
What do you do?
what is your problem?" You know? And I'm like,
Reality check, boy.
reality check. I'm just hitting more club here. So I think I go and I get like a 4-iron. And, you know, thank God I did, because I hit that thin. What a surprise.
Right. Shocking.
And, you know, I just make it over the
Edge of the water.
and now I can chip from there.
Right,
you know,
right,
I'm
right,
safe,
right.
but I'm still, you know,
Right.
60 paces from the in or whatever. And so afterward, we're having dinner and Trent's sitting next to me, and, you know, just Trent's the nicest guy.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know, right.
right.
He's, you know, but he was like, he said something like, when were you going to realize that you had not hit a single shot all day?
Yeah, his shot in the
What
Spears.
were you thinking? You know,
Maybe we get done.
I know.
Maybe
right?
when you think back to the round.
And I was like, and
Yeah.
it was like so humbling. It was like one of those moments where I was like, I'm supposed to be the mental game guy,
Right.
where, you know, awareness is my thing, you know. Oh no, I got awareness, you know. Oh, sorry. At least not that day, you know. And so it was both, it was humbling for me, of course, you know, but it was an amazing lesson, you know. You know, what it looks like and feels like, you know, really, I'm not being aware and alert on the course to what's happening that. Like,
Right.
we're not going to bring our best game, best game to the course every time we play.
Right.
We've all experienced that. It just doesn't happen. And that day I was hitting it kind of thin, and I just wasn't, you know, tuned in enough, you know,
Right.
to make the adjustments, you know, and so it was a great lesson for me. So yeah.
I'll never
And
forget
Tim,
this.
and you loved that. You're like,
Oh, God, yeah.
my gosh, you are.
No, it's funny
That was
because
so funny.
you bring up Chris Anderson. I mean, I was sitting there at dinner with Chris one night at the alumni camp.
Yeah.
And Chris is sitting next to, I think it was Charlie. Him and Sid were sitting together, and Chris looked at me, and then we're sitting there, you know, having a little conversation between us three. And Chris looks at me and he goes, "What do you think about when you get over a chip?" And so
Wait, he said what?
What do you think about when you get over a chip?
Oh, what are you
Okay.
thinking about when you
And
get over it?
And so I sat there and I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Like when you set the club down behind a chip, what do you think about?" And I said, "Well, when I set the club down, I've already determined the lie of the ball. I've already determined if there's a little bit wet or a little bit damp." I said, "I determined, like, I figure out if there's a little bit into the breeze or not. I'm seeing how hard I want to hit this. I want to see if I want to be aggressive with it or not. I'm thinking about if my, you know, I went through this like maybe like 30-second deal, and then I said, and I hit the shot. And Chris goes, "How long does it take you?" I said, "About 2.5 seconds." And Charlie looked at Chris and goes, "Good luck getting into that zone." We started laughing, and I'm looking up and I'm like, "Okay." It's like, and they just started cracking up, and it was really funny. I looked up, I was like, and then Charlie looked at Chris and goes, "That's called mastery." So I'll never forget that. But the point,
He's been doing it.
yeah. But the point is that when I described this, it was like in the moment and how quick this occurs and how it's just natural. It's almost a reaction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and it is
it-
now, by the way.
100%.
It wasn't when,
Oh,
you know, when you,
heck
right?
no.
I mean,
Heck no. But now it is.
took a while.
No, yeah. You know, and so on. But but it was funny that I just watched Chris's eyes, and Chris is a younger guy, a good player. His eyes just got huge. And I was like, "Chris, I don't expect you to think that when you go over a shot, but believe it or not, you probably do react to this a lot more than you think."
Sure.
And then also, I thought exactly, went back to, got to get out of your own way. Because the second I get up there and think one thought of, is my face square? Is my hands on this club good? It's done. It's over.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then beyond that is the trust factor. You know, we talk a lot about that in our AA high schools. It's the trust factor. trusting you have what you have right now is good enough to play this game and let's go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's so good. And I would say to anybody that's thinking about this too, and I know we're going to wrap this up soon, but maybe one thought is that if you come to school, I would encourage you to really consider that we're going to ask you to drop a lot of your stories about how you think you should play.
Right.
And how you should approach the game. We're going to really, really challenge some paradigms.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what we'll see people show up and they're like, oh, I hear what you guys are saying.
Right.
This is how I do this.
Right.
I'm this kind of guy.
Right.
And look, hey, you know what? Be you, do you. I get that. But when you come and spend time with Tim Graves, who has probably hit 1 billion golf balls or whatever it is I'm going to suggest that he might have something that could lead to an insight for you. And so be open to that. Right. And look, I swim in these waters. I am a full-time, all the time.
Right.
I earn a living. I feed my family, whatever you want to say.
Right.
Thinking about, writing about, speaking about, talking about this stuff.
Right.
And it might sound crazy to you at first, but I want you to be open to considering it.
Right.
So that would be sort of my last thing I would say.
And the other thing is, though, is that don't just, as you just said there, you don't just work with golf. I mean, you work with musicians. I mean, a lot of people that are high functioning, very talented. I mean, what you want to say, I mean, individuals. And so it's not just the golf aspect. It's a lot more than this, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully people on the
corporate leaders, people in professional baseball, musicians,
all deal with the same thing.
You really do.
You got to get out of your own way.
Yeah. I'm working with recently with a really well-known racing team.
Really?
In the Indy series.
Oh, really?
So
cool.
That's kind of interesting. So it's the cool thing is all of these fundamentals are
they all applicable.
They work in all of these domains.
Holy crap, that'd be unbelievable. Talk about Navy SEALs and like a pit stop. You sit there for however long and then for like 10 seconds you are on cue. Holy crap!
Right.
You just drop a lug nut, you are screwed.
I know. We were. I was actually. That's funny. Well, but it's all about systems too, right? Because we working with this group and the pit crew was doing a practice, right?
Okay.
And one of the veterans dropped a lug nut.
Oh, really? So I wasn't making this up.
No, swear to God, this happened, right? So, so how did he survive? Right now, he was right rear tire. Okay. So if you know anything about this, right? It's everyone's got a tire, everyone's got a job. There's 6 or 8 or whatever the number is, right? He's right rear tire, and now so he's got to travel across.
Right on the outside of the car.
Yeah, on the outside. So he's got a little bit,
Right.
But you've got 7 seconds for a pit stop in IndyCar, something like that.
So my 10 seconds, you're toast.
You better not go to 10. Let's not do that.
Okay.
That wouldn't be good.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a good business decision,
Exactly.
as one of my friends says. So they're doing this practice, right? And it's live practice, live car comes in, boom, stop, whoop,
Right.
And he gets in his position, drops his lug nut, right? But he had a system in place. He had another one.
Okay.
And there's 2 things. One is he raises his hand to let everyone know that there's a lug nut. Okay. Everyone sees that, right?
Okay.
But because he only has one thing to do over here, he's got just enough time, if he's prepared, to take that lug nut, put it in place, and get it on.
Right.
And he does, and they still are within time. But it's just my point is that the systems that we build and have for ourselves can help us through these moments, even when it looks like the stuff's about to hit.
Right.
And that happens very fast. So in golf, it happens sort of slower.
Right.
And the problem is that we get to think about it. We get to think about it.
Right. That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to promote everybody to come if they can get on the roll and come to an AAI school. I mean, we don't bring a lot into the school because we like to keep it pretty personal. We don't put 30 people in the school.
No. That wasn't right.
Yeah.
Did we have 15?
think we had one
recently?
time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
try to keep it pretty personal. Yeah. So, but I want to thank you for being part of this today, and we'll get another one going through real quick.
Awesome.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks, Tim.